Vietnam War was initially founded under good intentions. However, the Cold War tensions between imperialist tendencies changed this event into a dark and controversial memory for the world to remember. There are a lot of opinions on this matter, but it's important for us to understand the perspective of those who fought, the women that participated, and the human rights that were compromised in this event. But first, let's see a little bit of context. Vietnam was a French colony that later got invaded by Japan in World War II. After Japan's defeat in 1945, Vietnam proclaimed itself independent, but had to face France as it wanted its colonies back. Vietnam won in the end, and the Congress of Geneva divided the country by half in the 17th parallel. There was going to be votes to unify the country under one regime, but the United States was afraid that if Vietnam fell into a communist regime, it would spread throughout Southeast Asia like a domino effect. That's why they decided to intervene, rig the election, and forced Ngo Dinh as the elected president because he didn't want to South Vietnam to unify it with the North. He was later assassinated because he wasn't as cooperative as the American government wanted. Then the Gulf of Tonkin incident happened, where patrols of the North Vietnam attacked two US destroyers. President Johnson used this to persuade the Congress of the United States to agree to the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, which is basically the legal papers that let them go into war. This was later found to be basically false, as there is much evidence that the attack actually happened, and it's believed to be just as an excuse for America to force the war. The first operation done was Rolling Thunder, where America bombed north of Vietnam with 3 million tons of explosives, 2 million more than what was used in the entirety of World War II. From now on, human rights were severely at risk. They also used a variety of chemicals such as Agent Orange to destroy vast amounts of territory where the Viet Cong hid and found resources. Nowadays, this still has effects on the population's health because of the contamination of the soil. Villages that were believed to have some sort of alliance with the Viet Cong were targeted as free fire zones, which led to the worst war crime perpetrated by the American soldiers, the Miley Massacre, where 347 villagers were brutally killed by American soldiers willfully by their general. The worst part of this event was that the villagers didn't even know why they were getting invaded. As harsh as the conditions were for the civilians, it is arguably even worse for the soldiers, as they were expected to serve in the front lines for extended periods of time, up to years. This hardened their minds and turned them into merciless killers for their enemies. Women also joined the war, mainly as nurses and volunteers. They suffered and saw the horrors of the war. At the same time, they had to worry about their families. God did once said, "To protect our country, we had to protect the life of our people." This was the first television-covered war, where American public saw the horrors and sparkled the first protests. The government tried to pacify this by telling them that their killing ratio was 10-1, but they didn't care about the 10, they cared about the 1. And it all got worse when the New York Times published classified information from the Pentagon revealing the actual state of Vietnam. In this time, the nation uh, felt that the government lied to them and confidence broke. In an attempt to solve this, President Nixon just started the Vietnamization process, where the Army of the United States fortified the Army of South Vietnam in an attempt of them defending themselves, as their traumatized and shattered American soldiers were pulled back to their country. This was a huge opportunity for the Viet Cong, which launched the Ho Chi Minh campaign and that effectively struck the capital of South Vietnam, Saigon, and unified the country under one socialist flag. It was a victory, but at what cost? And even more after, contrary to popular beliefs, communism did not spread to Southeast Asia. So basically, the world the war was pointless, and millions of lives and resources were wasted on it. If the United States just listened to what the Vietnamese were fighting for, especially through their representative Ho Chi Minh, the leader of the Viet Cong, which multiple times said that they weren't fighting for communism, they were fighting for liberty and patriotism after years of being oppressed by other countries. Uh, it was also revealed that the war continued not because the United States was afraid of communism, but they were afraid of being humiliated because they couldn't defeat Vietnam. The overall cost of this war were millions of lives, of civilian lives, 1.1 million North Vietnamese and Viet Cong fighters, 57,939 members of the United States Armed Force, and $168 billion that now are 1 trillion. Finally, we have the references, and thank you for your attention.